our home and native land. True patriot love in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The University of Guelph would like to acknowledge the Adarwandran people on whose traditional territory the University of Guelph resides, and offer respect to our Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Métis neighbors as we strengthen our relationships with them. The word Canada comes from the Algonquin word Kanata, and it means village, and it is a way of being together, recognizing our radical interconnectedness. It is living as though all human beings are our neighbors, people from the east, the west, the north, the south, all brothers and sisters together, all interconnected. There are numerous ways of expressing that in indigenous communities around the world. From the Zulu nation of South Africa, the word is Ubuntu. From Nigeria, the word is Nkonsen Konsen. From ancient Peru, it is Minga. From the Ojibwe First Nations people here in Canada, it is Akinawea. From the Iroquois here in Canada, it is Doneto Akwekon. These teachings, these words, these ideas all recognize our interconnectedness. They are saying we are not alone. And all the people who cross this stage this afternoon, they do so recognizing that they are not alone. They do so recognizing they come from part of that community, that village, that kanata. Family, for one, it's not just those people who say, you know, you've got a chance to go to university, now don't screw it up. Rather, family are the ones who love and who support and who encourage and who pay the bills. Professors are not just tyrants asking for another paper, but rather they're fellow human beings sharing their knowledge, their skill, their wisdom. And university support staff, including physical resources, they're not just shadows who pass by without seeing or being seen, but rather they're people who care about providing a safe and hospitable environment for loving and for living and for learning. Fellow students, they're not competitors, but rather travelers on the road. As all of those who pass this stage this afternoon, travelers on the road, as they do so, they recognize with gratitude, love, and compassion all of those who have made it possible for them to be here this day. And for all of that interconnectedness, some of us say and give thanks to God. Others simply give thanks in a spirit of love, one to the other. Amen.
You may be seated. Mr. Vice Chancellor, members of the board, fellows, faculty and staff of the university, family and friends, and of course, graduating students. I'm delighted to welcome you all today for the celebration of convocation at the University of Guelph. My name is Serge Desmarais, and I'm the university's Associate Vice President Academic. It's truly an honor for me to open this ceremony on behalf of the university. Convocation is a very special day when the university celebrates its student achievements by reaching backwards in time, using the costumes and spectacle of nearly 1,000 years to honor the achievement of the graduating class. It's therefore my pleasure to be the first to formally congratulate you, our graduates, on your significant achievements. I encourage you to take a moment today, and in fact to take this day, to reflect upon where you've been, the friends you've made, the experiences you've had, both good and bad, which led you to a new degree. Think of how different you are now than you were when you arrived at Guelph, and you should feel exceptionally proud of what you've accomplished. Of course, achievements of this sort do not happen without the help and guidance of many people, many of whom are here today, family, friends, and mentors whose support, care, and advice have contributed to your success. So please join me in thanking them all. We come together today to celebrate an important transition in your life. Many of you may think that this conversation is the end of a process, with the days of studying, exams, and assignments now over. I certainly did when I was in your seat, but the years have taught me otherwise. Your process of learning did not begin here at Guelph, nor will it end today when you walk across the stage. Today is just the beginning of a lifelong process during which education will play a central role. In these days of rapid development, with a worldview more global than ever, constant re-education will become essential, and the skills you acquired here at the University of Guelph have provided you with the capacity to learn more, to adapt to a changing world, and to be a wise consumer of knowledge. We certainly hope that the education you've received here at the University of Guelph, both inside and outside the classroom, is one that has opened your eyes to the complexity of life and to the multitudes of perspectives based on culture, upbringing, and experience. We hope that we've given you a glimpse of a greater knowledge from all around the world, of how humans interact with each other for both good and bad, of arts and science and history, of the importance of caring for those around us and the planet we live on, and of all those other things you have learned and researched and studied. Remember that the education that you've received provides you with opportunity and responsibility. On one hand, it allows you the capacity to take advantage of opportunities that serve your personal goals. On the other hand, it highlights your responsibility to play an important role in civil society, whether local, national, or international. The world needs you to help resolve serious social issues. We need you to make informed decisions that can take into account the complexity of this global world. We definitely need you to apply your knowledge and energy to address increasingly complex social issues. But of course, dealing with these important and serious problems will not be easy. Many of us feel that a single person's effort will not resolve the complexity of the world's problems. But if not you or us, who will be responsible? Your university education has provided you with critical skills to answer complex questions. It has provided you with ways to research, communicate, inform, and influence. It is now up to you to put this knowledge to good use and to make your mark on the world around you. Be involved and make your mark on the world. And as you make that mark, remember that the University of Guelph has become a small part of who you are and that you have also become part of our collective history. Your association with the university is lifelong. Know that you are always welcome to return, to visit, to learn more, to continue sharing in this vibrant community of learning. We are proud of your achievement, and on behalf of the entire University of Guelph, I offer you my personal congratulations and best wishes. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to ask Dr. Byron Sheldrick, the Chair of the Department of Population Science, to give the convocation address. Sorry, political science.
I only wish. Thank you, Mr. Vice Chancellor. It's a great honor to be here today and to be asked to be addressing the graduating class. Certainly when I was in your place, I actually thought about this and I thought back to my graduation from my undergraduate degree at Carleton University. And I went back and looked and realized that it actually is 30 years ago tomorrow that I sat where you are sitting now. And when I look back on that day, it was quite incredible. But if I were to think back to that time and think about what was going through my mind, never in a million years could I ever imagine that 30 years on, I would be standing here dressed in what must be a somewhat ridiculous outfit with just an incredible hat. Addressing a group of accomplished young people as they embark on the next chapter of their life. So in that context, I'd like to speak to you a little bit about the value of what you've achieved and the value of the degree you are receiving today. Of course, we hear today so much in the media about how university degrees are not what they once were, how the BA isn't that useful, it's not enough, you must do more. That unless you go do something else now, you're never going to get a job or you're likely going to be unemployed. And frankly, it's all a little depressing. Well, a little bit of context to that. When I was in the early 1980s telling my father's friends, my father was an auto mechanic and he worked in a garage, and his friends came to our garage and hung out and they worked on their cars. And when they would ask me, what are you going to do? I said, well, I'm studying political science, I told them. And they looked at me and they said, well, that's useless. Why would you do that? You're never going to get a job, are you? And indeed, my friends who were studying English literature, geography, sociology, political science, history, were all being told the same sorts of things. Well, 30 years on, all of my friends who were studying all those liberal arts programs all have fabulous jobs, fabulous careers. And in fact, this month, many of them are having children who are sitting where you are sitting now, graduating from their first university degree. Of course, there's different contexts, different times. We know the economy is precarious these days. Well, that's not exactly new either. I went to high school through the 1970s, which was a turbulent economic time when there were record levels of unemployment and inflation. Throughout the 1980s and the 90s, there were renewed periods of recessionary times when people were genuinely concerned about the future, as people are now. Bad economic times come and go, but the perseverance, the skills, the capacities that you will develop and have developed over the last 4 years of your university career are exactly the sorts of skills that you need to move forward, weather those bad economic times, and find success. And so I really do think that despite all the naysayers, that you are in a position where you are uniquely ready for success as you go forward. And a little bit of context and background. You know, when I look out and I see so many of you here today, I realize that there's been a transformation of post-secondary education. And and the opportunities that it represents. My father, who I've already mentioned, worked as an auto mechanic and a machinist. He grew up on a farm. He left school in grade 6. He learned his trade in the Second World War, and when he came home, there were no jobs. So he labored the next 30 years in a machine shop. My mother was the high education achiever in our family. She left school in grade 9. And she worked a variety of jobs in order that we could do the things we wanted to do so that the kids could have music lessons and do all those other things that many of us take for granted. But mostly, she worked cleaning people's houses. And there was a time when I was younger that I was, I must say, a little embarrassed by that. The day she came home and she said she had a new client, and I realized it was someone I went to high school with, their parents. I went, oh, really? No. But I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm quite proud of it because she worked very, very hard. And she did that so that we could have opportunities. My sisters and I are the first of our generation in my immediate and extended family to even graduate high school and then go to university. And all of us did that. My point in relaying this is that if I had been born in another generation, this opportunity would not have been presented. I would not be here standing in front of you delivering this address, because the opportunity to go to university was reserved for the elites and the wealthy. And you have this opportunity in part because of the transformation of our university system into one of mass education. I mean, some statistics: 46% of young people by the age of 21 now attend university. Another 30% go to college. 76% of young people engage in post-secondary education. Now, of course, that is part of the reason why sometimes we say, well, if everyone has something, it doesn't mean as much. Let's face it, iPods were so much cooler when they first came out, and not many people had them. You're on the subway, you saw the white headphones, and you went, oh, they've got one of those. Now everyone has them, so they're not as cool. They're still just as useful. And what I'd like to suggest to you is that the skills you've learned still have tremendous utility. Surveys of corporate executives continually tell us that they value the skills that are part of a social science and liberal arts university education in the people they hire. So I would like to say to you that I believe without reservation that your degree is important, and whatever you choose to do with it, you will find success. The notions of creative thinking, communication skills, if we live in the era of a knowledge economy, surely the ability to express oneself and articulate complex ideas is vitally important. And as you've already seen in the welcoming address or heard in the welcoming address, many of the world's most pressing problems require the sorts of skills that come with social science and liberal arts education. We can have technology to solve environmental problems, but unless we understand also the political systems, the needs to communicate to people about the value of those technologies and what they could mean, then perhaps those great technological ideas will just sit there and not actually make as much of a difference as we would hope they would. So again, the ability to communicate, the ability to draw linkages between different ideas, concepts, areas of knowledge, these are the skills you've been developing over the last 4 years, and they are vital for the future. So be confident as you go forward. Never apologize to someone. I hear this frequently when I meet young people who've finished university. Oh, what did you study? Oh, I just got a BA. Don't apologize for your BA. It is important, and it is a significant achievement that you should be terribly proud of. I'm going to leave you with 2 pieces of advice, and I have a confession to make, which is that despite the fact that I have a PhD in political science, in general, I'd much rather read science fiction than political philosophy. So my advice to you comes from Douglas Adams, who of course is the author of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is one of my favorite books. I'm quite proud that it's my son's favorite book. And the remade movie is terrible, don't watch it. But the BBC series is wonderful. So I have two pieces of advice from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And the first is one which many of you will know, many of you will not know, and that is always know where your towel is. And if you don't know what that means, this is your final piece of homework at the University of Guelph, to go find out. And the second, and I actually tell this story to my first year political science class, my intro class. I say to them, and I actually put a slide up with the words, "Don't panic." In The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Douglas Adams says that it's the best-selling book in the history of the known universe, not because of anything it contains inside it, for much of the information found therein is simply wrong, but rather because on the cover it has in big comforting letters, "Don't panic." As you go forward from here into the next chapter of your life, you will encounter bumps and obstacles and roadblocks. You will have good days and you will have bad days. You will have days when the path ahead seems absolutely certain and clear, and you will have days when you simply feel adrift and lost. We all go through this. Don't panic. It will be fine, and it will work out. And in doing so, in working out those things, come back to what you've learned here. After all, let's face it, 5 courses a semester over 12 weeks, you have been through the crucible. If you can do that for 4 years, you're fine. You will be able to accomplish your goals. Recently, someone said to me, we often become so focused on the finish line that we forget to enjoy the journey. I think this is one of those things you see on Facebook. Well, you're at the finish line. I hope you enjoyed the journey. But now it's time for you to set yourself a new finish line. And I hope you enjoy that journey as much as you did, or perhaps even more, than you enjoyed the journey you're just completing. So regardless of where your life takes you from this point forward, take the experiences that you've had here with you. Good luck. I wish you every success, and I know it is there for each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sheldrick, for comforting the entire group. And I almost felt a sense of collective relief, especially from the parents in the class, in the room. So thank you very much. Well, scholars, this is your moment. Will the graduating class please rise? Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars who have fulfilled the statutory requirements laid down by the Senate of the University of Guelph, that they may be admitted to their various and several degrees.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and the University of Guelph, I accept you for admission to your various and several degrees, with all of the rights, privileges, and obligations appertaining thereto.
Will members of the graduating class be seated, please? Thank you.
Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences, that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Applied Science Honors Program. Erin Rose Beaulieu with distinction. Grace Evelyn Bleaney with distinction. Laurel N. Borthwick with distinction. Olivia Dawn Brammer. Alexandra Elizabeth Chesney with distinction. Bailey Elizabeth Connolly with distinction. Jillian Danielle Cotter with distinction. Alicia Marjorie Kugler with distinction. Rebecca Jane Craig. Catherine Elizabeth Curley with distinction. Victoria Louise Curry with distinction. Ashley Corrine Decleen. Rebecca Lee Hannemer with distinction. Emily Catherine Dawn Hedvegi. Emily Suzanne Eiler. Sarah Elizabeth Kelly. Sarah Elizabeth Lachance. Sarah Catherine Lewis. Keely Kitling Lowe with distinction. Natalie Lohaza. Brittany Kelly McMillan. Julia Ann Martin. Megan Dawn Matheson with distinction. Courtney Ann Lawson MacArthur. Courtney Grace McDonald. Jessica Ann Millette with distinction. Christine Marie Mills with distinction. Nicole Ashley Mulholland with distinction. Victoria Margaret Packman. Natasha Marie Pollock with distinction. Sabrina Margaret Pacheski with distinction. Stephanie Hannelore Puschel with distinction. Danielle Christine Reflinghaus. Lauren Elizabeth Renland with distinction. Michelle Elizabeth Riva with distinction. Amanda Valentina Stancato with distinction. Jamie Lee Stewart with distinction. Megan Elizabeth Tack. Mariah Rose Wilkinson. Santina Ray Williams. Samantha Rose Wilson. Catherine Woods. Juping Zhao. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree Bachelor of Arts Honors Program. I sense there are some suppressed whoopies or yippies out there somewhere. You're allowed to do that. In moderation. Evan John Artis with distinction. Hillary Nicole Banks. We'll have a proper group round of applause at the very end, don't fear. Kevin Patrick Burke. Peter James Bishop. Cara Christine Bonus with distinction. Samantha Leslie Briand with distinction. Jillian Ann Brown. Patrick Burns. Ryan Daniel Clune. Katrina Maria Collins. Jafe Chen Court. Ashley De Fatima Texera Kuna. Caitlin Melody D'Angelo. Christine DeVries. Lauren Elizabeth Dietrich. Michelle Hillary Ann Dawn with distinction. Emily Merlene Dreger. Caitlin Yvonne Evans. Kelsey Feinstein with distinction. Nikki Fragidakis with distinction. Carly Elizabeth Fraser with distinction. Caitlin Marie Fredericks. Tyson Frost. Favin Germay. Andrea Nicole Gregoris. Christopher Greg McGuffin with distinction. Katie Haynes Highland. Anthony Brian Hendry. Maureen Henry with distinction. Hillary Meredith Holmes. Melissa Rose Huck. Gabriella Josephine Iurapoli with distinction. Jesse A. Jackson. Thomas Dylan Kierstead. Virginia Kloosterman with distinction. Anne Elizabeth Leggett Wolfe with distinction. Kelsey Jordan Layton. Joanna Claire Logan. Jamie Amanda Luman. Cassandra McDonald. Melanie Magdalena Martins with distinction. Connor McAlpine. Laura Marie McGowan with distinction. Joy Esther McCowan. Mackenzie Alexandria McLean. Emma Sarah Helen McLeod. Amy Moore. Matheson Mosley. Nikki Beck Mulder. Tyler Maurice Mulligan. Samantha Leanne Monroe. Curtis Nairn. Alexander Stephen James Ogilvie with distinction. Leslie Elizabeth Oldfield with distinction. Brittany Rose Pepper with distinction. Emily Madeline Poirier with distinction. Rachel Elizabeth Pond with distinction. Safia Alia Mariam Rajab with distinction. Cassidy Rathwell. Kelly Rathwell. Brianna Andrea Richard. Brittany Robertson. Anthony Salsiccioli. Rachel Scott with distinction. Caitlin Snell with distinction. James Spears. Maya Rose Lyons-Steen with distinction. Andrea Justine Stewart. Victoria Ann Stewart. Jessica Dawn Thorne. Katie Lynn Toes. Whitney Christina Wakeford. Christopher Patrick Webb. Monica Kathleen Weinman. Carly Ray Williams. Michelle Ashley Young with distinction. Mr. Vice Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Arts General Program. Madison Amodio. Emma Ray Kathleen Bannister. Angela Lynn Bossens with distinction. Daniel Robert Brock. Victoria Marie Brisky. Candace Lynn Charbonneau. Aurelio Cunha. Sean Michael Quinn Dearling. Elizabeth Foster. Alana Elizabeth Forney. Shelby Lynn Graham. Dustin Paul Haney. Manesh Harnarain. Jeffrey Kingdon. Nicole Costry. Graham Marr. Stacy Lynn Mollengrath. Jamal Justin Nicky. Mariah Chelsea Pontello. Joshua Van Horn. Sarah Vincent. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you these scholars from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that they may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science Honours Program. Samantha Andrea Albers. Caroline Elizabeth McKinnon. Laura Nicole Sleevers. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I have the honor to present to you this scholar from the College of Social and Applied Human Sciences that she may be admitted to the degree of Bachelor of Science in Environmental Science Honours Program. Katarzyna Ewa Kozakowski. I'm sorry if I got that almost there, but not quite. Daniel John Filippi. Kelsey M. Garrett. Geneviève Lynn Lalonde. Joshua Petko. Ian Edward Starosco. Ladies and gentlemen, you've been an exceptionally well-behaved audience. Please join me in congratulating these scholars.
That's what you want. That's what you want, a happy group. Okay. Mr. Vice-Chancellor, I would ask you to confer the various and several degrees on the graduates listed in the program but unable to be present at this ceremony.
By virtue of the authority vested in me and the University of Guelph, I admit the candidates in absentia who are unable to be here. So, I think I'm just going to send a Snapchat of you all. And I'll put a caption that goes, OMG, they made it. And you would think, with that, with the bit of parchment, for those of you that follow me on Snapchat, you would be able to see the very picture that confirmed it. You'd think, with all that, you're good to go. Well, not quite. You've got to wait and listen to me talk to you, and I can go on for hours and hours. I am the only thing between you and the rest of your lives. But don't worry, I'm not going to go on for very long. I only want to do two things, actually. The first is I'd like you to think back. Think about all of the things that you've done here. Think of all of the things you've learned, all of the people that you've met, all of the friends that you've made. What would you say was the most incredible thing that you did when you were here? What was the most surprising thing that happened to you? What was the stupidest thing that you did? Well, when I ask those questions from up here, it's really cool because I can see the memories, the shadows passing across your faces. You smile fondly when I say something that might have been fantastic. You frown about things that weren't so good. And there's a definite twinkle in your eye, for some of you, when you think of the stupid things that you did. And for some of you, you look really guilty because you think I've been creeping you on Facebook. So why am I talking about this? It's really important. Hold on to those memories. Those things will be too fleeting if they're like Snapchat. Make pictures something that you remember, not just that you can see, but that you form here in your mind. Because much to the chagrin of those of us who profess here, your teachers, it's very, very unlikely that within a short period of time you will remember anything about what you were taught in any of your classes. So what is it that you actually take away from here if you don't have the memory of the learning in those classes? Well, I hope you take away much more than a parchment, much more than a string of notes or a sheaf of papers. I hope you take away what it means to be part of a society, part of a group, and because it's the University of Guelph, part of a herd that cares. Cares about the world around you, cares about the animals around you, and cares about the people around you. So I said there were two things. The first was to treasure those memories. Seal them, literally seal them into your brain. And you'd be forgiven, because you're very intelligent people and you've just got degrees from the University of Guelph, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the second thing is to look forward. But that's not actually what I wanted to say. I wanted to challenge you. I wanted to challenge you to be involved, to be engaged in the critical, social, political, and humanitarian issues that face this world. I want to challenge you to work tirelessly for tolerance and understanding. When you see intolerance or people failing to understand something, don't be angry. Just turn round and use the skills that you have learned here to stamp out injustice, to fight for those people who cannot, to speak for those individuals who have lost their voices, and above all, to care for the people and the planet around you. Because it is only by caring that you will make a difference in this world. And sad to say, of course, we really need you. In a world that is riven by injustice, that is challenged by dogma and prejudice and disadvantage, our only hope is you. Do something. Do something. I don't care whether you take on some of those earth-shattering problems and become the next world leader, or whether you do something that may be more significant, which is to make a decision that today you will start improving the lives of at least one person a day, every day for the rest of your life. How do you do that? Simple. I don't know if you've noticed, but one of the most incredible human traits is something that no other animal does. If you smile at somebody, no matter how miserable, angry, sad, upset they are, they can't help but smile back. How many times did you see it here on the stage, hooded? walk over to me, I'm smiling at them, and they smile. I had to remind a few of them this wasn't, the end of the world, but they did smile. And when you make people smile, it changes their perspective on life. Find ways to include people of all ages and stages, all genders and races, in everything that we do to make this a better planet. So take your parchment. Take the values and ideals that you have learned here. Take your friendships and get out of here. Those of us that are left behind will be watching you with incredible pride. I celebrate and salute your successes, and I wish you every success in the future. Thank you. All right, you're going to get one. Following convocation, there will be a reception for the graduates and their families and guests in the science complex, the atrium of the science complex, and I hope you'll all take the opportunity to attend. As I said, take lots and lots of pictures, those mementos that you'll be able to use when you come back for alumni weekend in 10, 25, 50, or as we're going to have in 2 weeks' time, people coming back to celebrate their 60th anniversary from graduating from the University of Guelph. And they all bring out their pictures and show me what they looked like in those days. So for some of you, it will be saying, did my hair really look like that? Did I have hair in those days? For some of you, it will be, how on earth did I walk in those high-heeled shoes? And I'm not sure what the girls will be saying. Take lots of pictures. Make sure you return your gowns. You can either return them here in the tent next door or in the science complex atrium. But I do have one thing to ask. We're doing 22 of these ceremonies this week, and in order to fit them in, there is a herd of people outside waiting to get in. And when they open the doors, the tsunami will come rushing in from that side. So may I suggest that when the procession has left the stage and we've all gone out, you use these two doors here on the side to exit so you're not crushed by the next group coming in. Thank you to all of you for taking time to be here. We all have good days and bad days. For some of you, this was a breeze to get through. For some of you, it may have even taken 10 years. So now I'm going to say 4 words that you thought you might never hear. Your convocation is dismissed. Congratulations.